The story is told, though who can say if it be true, of a clan of medieval warriors awoken in modern-day Manhattan, of the animated series that told their story.
It is an age of darkness. Superstition and the sword rule. It is an age of fear. It is the age of gargoyles.
Welcome to Voices from the Eyrie, a Gargoyles podcast.
And welcome back, Gargoyles fans, to another episode of Voices from the Eyrie, a Gargoyles podcast. I'm your co-host, Greg Wyshansky, and joining me as usual is my partner in crime and Jason Canmore's biggest fan, Jennifer L. Anderson.
Hello, everyone.
How are you today, Jen?
I'm doing good. Sitting on the edge of a 3-day weekend, so I'm happy about that.
Awesome. And also joining us is the creator of Gargoyles, Mr. Greg Wiseman.
Hi, everyone.
How are you today, Greg?
I'm good.
Glad to hear that also. And we would also like to welcome back to the show the voice director, Jamie Thomason.
Hello.
And how are you today, Jamie?
Living a dream. Always a big cartoon dream.
And we would also like to introduce, for the first time to the show, we've got two celebrities joining us today. We've got Scott Cleverton, the voice of John Canmore.
Woo!
Good morning, everybody. It's 3 a.m. here. Thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
Thanks for waking up at 3 a.m. to join us.
Direct from a very different time zone.
Very different.
And also joining us is the voice of Jason Canmore, Diedrich Bader.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everyone.
Hello. And
So at what point do I bring up Scottish accents?
we
can do it right away, yeah.
We will get there. We will get there. But first, we would like to hear a little bit about your origin stories, how you both got into acting, how you became voice actors. Diedrich, we'll start with you.
I became an actor, professional actor, when I was on vacation in Santa Fe. I was training to be an actor at North Carolina School of the Arts. And I was on vacation with my folks, and I went to a dinner party. I met a casting director. And before I knew it, I was cast in a pilot for ABC, a Western, which was a lot of fun. And then I went back to school and promptly dropped out and moved to Hollywood and got started. That's kind of my origin story. But my origin story with voiceover starts here. My first job was given to me by Jamie. And I didn't know what I was doing, and he was incredibly helpful and really started my voiceover career, of which I am incredibly indebted to, because it is the most fun I've had in show business, without a doubt. And if it paid as much, it would be all that I would do. It's delightful, and the people that I've met, some of that is just from the sheer social Darwinism of it, is that you're not on camera, and then if you're a bad person, you just get drummed out. But some of it is just that it's totally talent-based rather than looks-based, which I guess is a talent, but a minor one in comparison to the talent that I've seen in voiceover artists. And my first session, I'm glad, was a Disney show because... Wait, is this a Disney show?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought
Yes,
so. Okay.
it is.
Because there was nobody else there. So Disney tends to record people alone, and Warner Brothers at this time anyway used to record people together. And I was already having like imposter syndrome, and the fact that there was nobody else there was great for me because I was able to proceed like I knew what I was doing when I truly.
Do you remember what show that was?
What show? What was
the first one you did for Disney?
This is it. We're talking about.
Oh, Gargoyles.
It was the Gargoyles.
You weren't alone. I ever did. We didn't record alone.
No, I recorded.
Well, his first recording may have been.
It was totally alone.
Endeavored to get everybody together, but
yeah. Oh, did you guys record together? Oh, that's so cool. Oh, well, not with me.
Yeah,
I came in alone.
Diedrich, they already told us that you were something of a toxic individual.
Right, of course.
It had to do with
Trying to isolate him from the rest of the...
Yeah, smart. And then there's the smell.
A lot of restraint orders that came into play.
Yeah. And still to this day. So you would think, but that's the court system. What can you do? So anyway, that's
Badger by name, worse by nature. That's what they say.
Hey, that was good.
But Dick's right in that, we endeavored to get everybody together, but if we couldn't get everyone together, some companies just say, well, then don't use this actor, use your second choice or your third choice.
Right.
But we said we need Diedrich only. Will do.
Yeah, and of which I am eternally grateful. Because it is the most fun I've had in my career is my voiceover career.
All three episodes, because I don't, not that I trust my memory, but I remember you recording with the group. Am I completely wrong? Did you do?
No, that is totally made up. All three episodes were done all together, and I was completely alone. Memory is a funny thing, but yeah, I'm
gonna tell you when we
the shows together, and I
we
think
were all
conflating those. I'm sorry.
We were all together in a particular session where they wanted to take photos.
Oh, is that right? So maybe I came in for that.
Yeah, because I saw you there, Marina Sirtis was there, and some other people were there. There's still some photographs of that session kicking around.
Oh, somewhere around there? Oh, okay, all right.
And I think we were all called in to sort of like I'm doing voiceover sort of gesture.
Oh, yeah, that may have been it. Because I remember recording along.
Because I remember seeing you there and meeting you there.
Yeah.
So it seemed like a session, but it wasn't really.
Right.
Well, that would explain the visual in my head.
Totally. Yeah. And there's photographic back. You know what? It's also very possible that that I'm misremembering. But that my memory of it was that I was alone. But that's my memory.
I don't know if we can swear. Can we swear?
Oh, fuck
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, no, it's because Marina Sirtis wore a white
You can't fucking
t-shirt.
swear on this show. What are you doing?
It's a Disney show.
Thank God for that.
So what was your rhythm there, Scott?
No. The reason I want to say that is because Marina Sirtis was wearing a white T-shirt that said "fuck fascism," and Disney said, "Can you take it off?" And she said, They said, "Can you take it off or put something on top?" And I remember going, "What's your problem with? Well, you like fascism or something?"
Yeah, that's a fair point.
And I remember that very, very clearly that she was wearing that shirt at the time. Yeah. So that's that
very
session.
Character.
That's our shy wallflower Marina. Drinking violet.
Yeah, those Liverpudlians. You gotta watch it.
Boy, and one thing I did. I'm sorry. That it was really a really good show. I hadn't actually watched the episode and episodes, I should say, and or the show period. And it's really really good. And Keith David, I knew it before, but just listening to him as the lead, he talk about beautiful voice. I mean, my God, that really is a gift from God. That thing, it's remarkable. And he's. Do
you ever hear him sing?
No, I never have.
He has the most remarkable singing voice. Sounds like Nat King Cole.
Believe it.
I mean, it's like velvet. It's absolutely terrifying how good he is at everything.
Somebody send a clip of this to Keith. He'll want to hear that.
Yeah. Scott, what's your origin story?
I'm from. If you've ever seen the film Trainspotting, that's my neighborhood. That's where I grew up. Actually, Trainspotting makes it look nicer than it actually was, I have to say. I discovered theatre when I was 15 years old. We did restoration comedy, and we thought we were all very clever. And in that little youth theatre that we had, 4 of us ended up becoming professional actors. I went to drama school, the Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama. Curiously enough, 2 years above me was Alan Cumming, who I know replaced me on a particular job or more jobs. Also, about 5 years above me, which is also curious, was Sheena Easton, who's in this episode. Yeah, and she was in the first episode that I did, which I got the job because Jamie faxed me a page and called me over the telephone because he needed somebody who could do an Irish accent to play Cuchulainn, the Irish hero, in the episode The Hound of Ulster. So. And that was the first episode that I did. And
they did the audition over the phone?
I think so, yeah. Because it was really you were kind of desperate, and it was like, I think, to work the next day or a couple of days after, like, Hey buddy, can you do an Irish accent here? How's it sound? Oh my Krishna, you're in. You know, it was like, I think he checked out the resume and went, he's one of those British actors. He's not an asshole, right? He's already been through the mill. And for me, I went to drama school. I ended up moving to London. I met my wife in Crimea on a show called Sharp's Rifles with Sean Bean. We got married in '94. We moved to Los Angeles. She's made over 250 movies. She speaks 6 languages. She's a total overachiever. What could I possibly say? And I was with ICM at the time. And I was kind of with ICM because we knew Peter Rowley, who ran ICM. And of course, that's a terrible way to get an agent because he was like, go represent Scott, it'll be fine. And of course, they never did anything at all. Except one day, his assistant, the agent's assistant, a lovely woman called Mignon, called me and went, hey, Scott, can you do an Irish accent? They're looking for this cartoon, setting more cartoon show called Gargoyles. Can you do that? And I was like, okay. And that's, as they say, the rest is history. And because of that, I did the cuckoo, and that was the first thing I met Sheena Easton. And I went, we were at the same drama school. And she was like, what are you talking about? And Sheena Easton had lived in America for so long that her Scottish accent had become that sort of strange Gerard Butler thing, where you're from Scotland, you know, it sort of becomes like that, you know, sort of Scottish, which is kind of odd, because when I was watching the episode, I was like, who's playing the woman in this? I'm like, Sheena Easton, she's from this Kilbride, what happened to her accent? And yeah, so I went on to do that, and I ended up doing Spider-Man and Batman. I'm the original voice of Carnage in the Spider-Man cartoons, and ended up doing Obi-Wan Kenobi in video games because they thought it'd be great to get a Scottish guy imitating a Scottish guy imitating Alec Guinness. May the force be with him, I suppose. And it worked. And it worked. It worked like a charm. And then I got tired of LA, came back in about 99, 2000, and I went back for a little bit, which is Los Angeles is a little bit like a kind of, a girlfriend with borderline personality disorder. You know, it was great at the time, but you go back one last time to make sure that you really left them for the correct reasons. And then, I actually went back with a film that won the Hollywood Film Festival, which was kind of surreal. And for the last 25 years, me and my wife have been teaching film acting. And we're about to publish 3 books on the science of acting. First one's called Science of Acting. The second one's called The Scientific Method. And the third one is The Work of a Film Actor. And we write, coach, teach. We continue to act. I continue to do voiceovers. In a very tiny English-speaking voiceover community here in Madrid. And this is one of the things I have to say to Jamie. When you give somebody an opportunity and they don't screw it up, because you hear something, see something, or just out of an act of sheer desperation sometimes, and it's impossible to know the profound effect that you could possibly have on somebody's life, their career, and how they go about and do things. And for me, that was really the cornerstone of my earning when I was in Los Angeles was my voiceover work. And I was going to work for Earthlink, which is an internet company at the same time I was working. And one of the reasons they didn't fire me is because everybody found out that I was doing voiceovers. I was doing voice acting. And one day the guys called me into the office and I was like, you're going to fire me? And they said, no. We just want you to know that if there's any way we can accommodate you here, because everybody works so much better when you're on the floor, because you're like a big brother to them all and they all think you're cool, which is something I've never been accused of in my life before. But it's something, and this is the great thing, what with Carnage, Gargoyles, is it something that you do and you forget about? I still get residual checks, which is crazy. I don't know what I'm going to do with 6 cents in 68 cents in Madrid.
But 100 of those checks.
Yeah, I'm going to paper the bathroom with them. But what it is because of Disney Plus, which is the first time I had the chance to see all the Spider-Man things that I did. Gargoyles, obviously, and this is really great. What the kids call content. It's really fabulous elegant, audacious, crazy, out there, doesn't give a damn stuff, which is very hard to find these days because there's so much stuff which is so extraordinarily precious. And the one thing I noticed when I went back to watch some of them is you go, wow, this was made by adults. This was made by grown-ups.
Yes, I mean, they're mostly grown up.
Sort of.
Love it.
That's my story.
Interesting, by the way, that you say you're now living in Madrid. I was doing some historical research earlier on your characters of Jason Canmore and John Canmore on a show. They were descendants of Malcolm Canmore, who was a king of Scotland, Malcolm III. He was the third hunter in the show way back in the Dark Ages, and he married St. Margaret and brought the Roman Catholic Church into Scotland. And the reason I bring this up is after the Protestant Reformation, he and St. Margaret were taken from Scotland and interned in just outside of Madrid because of that.
Where were they? Escorial? Were they locked up in Escorial?
I believe so.
Okay.
Can always check the Wikipedia entry.
It's a very small world with extraordinary degrees of quantum entanglement. The amount of coincidences that
I mean, that's actually what we discovered when we were making the show. We kept, and this is still going on actually with me, but even back 30 plus years ago when there was no internet, to do research with, my assistant, Monique Beatty, who's now running production at DreamWorks TV animation, and a friend of mine, Tuppence McIntyre, who was actually an assistant, a deputy district attorney in Los Angeles, but she was of Scottish descent and was really interested in the subject. They did a bunch of research for us, and we kept finding all these stories and these things where these characters interacted with each other, and it all felt like, wow, it's like they're handing us stories to tell. It was, and every time we do a little more research, it would lead to 10 or 20 more story ideas.
Cool.
And so I'm really curious what you thought of Ed Asner's Scottish accent.
Ed Asner could do no wrong. No. There's certain things. It's like it's actually strangely better than Sheena Easton's, I have to say. No. That's it's sometimes. Look, it's like if you watch the film Braveheart. Mel Gibson's Scottish accent is better than some of the Scottish people's accents.
Wow.
There's a reason for that. It's because we have a very peculiar relationship with our own accent. Because every single thing you say says where you're from, what your social class is, what your education is, whether you're East Coast, West Coast. Glasgow is very different from Edinburgh. And Aberdeen, well, nobody can understand what the hell they're saying. I felt like the day, but I'm just going doon by my messages, Ken. And we're like, I'm terribly sorry, what are you talking about, buddy? It's like, it's very, it's very peculiar. But Ed Asner's accent is absolutely top drawer. The funny thing with it is that I think people, because everybody's heard it much more than ever before. These days, people seem to drop into the correct sound of Scottish more. Before, one of the problems is James Doohan as Scotty in Star Trek was like the kind of prototype. It's a little bit like using Dick Van Dyke to do a Cockney, But what's happened is everybody's gotten rather a wee bit better at it. The other trick I would say to people out there who want to work on an accent, find an actor who's doing an accent very well and listen to them. Because what they've done is it's a little bit like working out how to do an imitation or an impersonation of somebody. Find out what they've done that they've got right and go after that. But Ed Asner, I mean, I find myself in a room with, the first time I turned up, because Keith David was the only one who wore headphones, right? But he wore headphones in the same way that a singer would be listening to the sound of their own voice, and he was playing his own orchestra that was going on there, you know, because it was all so incredibly internal with this extraordinary bass. It was a very quite an intimidating room to walk into. However, that disappeared after about 5 seconds after everybody got to know each other. And Asner was an absolutely wonderful human being. Everybody was very conscious, and it's something that I've always been conscious of when I start working, is you don't know if this is anybody's first day of work if you've never seen them before. What you can rely on is they're actors, they know what they're doing, they've got imaginations, they can create the moment through their voice, but they don't have to learn any lines or anything like that. And all you have to do is just sort of give them a degree of space. And it was extremely elegant the way it worked. And I was just in awe of particularly the people who were doing like 3 or 4 different voices. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's a thing. It was quite stunning. And I was like, I walked out thinking, well, if I don't come back here ever again, that was rather nice. I remember that. But it was.
I thought your American accent was really great.
My American accent?
Yeah.
Oh.
You really pulled it off.
It was convincing.
Yeah, I pulled that one off. Yeah, it's funny listening back to these 3 episodes because my then girlfriend, now wife, and I had literally just returned from Scotland. So to me, I sounded good. But when I listened to it this time, it was truly terrible. It's a terrible accent. It's I completely missed it. But I'm really glad that I also had an American accent because
and yet still better than Sheena Easton's, apparently.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah.
If anybody asked me, I'd say, "Listen, mate, I've heard worse."
Okay, that's fair enough. Well,
I've heard worse. You know, I think I was like 26 or 27 at the time. It's one of the things I do. I coach people on accents and, and stuff like that. But the thing is, this is like this sort of work is a little bit like being, you're a mercenary. You're given a map coordinate and a helicopter, a backpack and some grenades, and you're just dropped in the middle of enemy territory, and they go, by the way, son, you're going to have to sound Scotch. You're like, what? Improvise.
Yeah, I mean, I had a good time. I thought I did a good job, as I said at the time, but listening back, I was really unimpressed. And my daughter, who wants to be a director, she was really brutal about it when we were watching it together.
Oh,
truly.
Tore you up.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Did she have a pad and just flipped over the first page and went, okay, to start with, well done. However.
No, she went to it. She goes, your accent work has gotten a lot better.
Oh.
That's how she started.
It was your fault.
This is the other thing that everybody forgets is that as actors, what we have now is this thing called YouTube. Yeah. And there's absolutely no excuse to, cram for the exam the next day, to go off and listen to the accents, and it's all there. You can find it instantaneously.
100%. And you're absolutely right, Scott, in saying that sometimes it's good to listen to somebody who is doing an impression. I found that when I was on the Drew Carey show many years ago, I had to do an impression of Elvis, and I just couldn't get it until Jess Harnell made a tape for me where he did an impression of Elvis. So I actually did an impression of Jess Harnell's impression of Elvis Presley. And then everybody was like, oh my God, you sound just like Elvis Presley. I was like, do I? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like Christopher Walken. Everybody's just doing a great impersonation of Kevin Pollak or whoever else is doing. Whoever is. No, everybody's doing Christopher Walken. It's one of the ways to, because what they've done is they have eliminated all the other kind of cultural things and they've honed in specifically on one particular sound. It's like listen to Renée Zellweger and Bridget Jones' Diary. That's quite amazing. Listen to Gary Oldman in The Scarlet Letter. Beautiful Scottish accent, East Coast Scottish accent. Or Kate Blanchett in Charlotte Grey, where she's doing like a St. Andrews accent. It's very, very specific.
Oh, that's cool.
And it makes it all, but people have, I think because we hear more of it now, they have a much more tuned ear, a much more sophisticated ear.
It's funny too, because I'm sorry, we're totally talking about accents instead of the show, but as a Southerner, it's really interesting to me to hear people do Southern accents, because they wander all over the place. They'll wander from Carolina, and then they go up to Virginia, and then they'll go down to Alabama, and then they'll do Mississippi, and it's like, you just, as a Southerner, it's like, where are you from?
You know why British people do the Southern, they're drawn to doing Southern accents. They have a great, they have more ease theme.
Yeah.
No, because it's more extreme.
All right, because they can, do almost an impression.
So what it is, so what you're doing is you're kind of like flipping into a completely different sort of character voice.
Yeah.
Or New York, or whatever it might be. The difficult thing is doing kind of a sort of straight middle America, neutral, standard American. That's tricky.
Yeah.
Because you got no kind of character to hang it on.
Nothing to latch onto. Yeah, that makes sense.
Somebody says, "Can you sound like you're from I don't know, Idaho or Omaha or whatever." You'd be like, "Don't know where to start there."
That's fair.
And I want you to chime in here. Also, Dietrich, we were talking about how Jason Canmore is a character who's really against type based on what we've usually seen from you. I mean, I've seen you obviously on Drew Carey. I've seen you in Office Space, and I think of your other voiceovers are more comedic characters. I mean, Hercules, Buzz Lightyear, where he played a couple of antagonistic characters, and even your Batman is a comedic straight man. And I loved your Batman, by the way.
Thank you. That was an honor to play Batman, that's for sure.
Yeah, but Jason Canmore, he's this. If he wasn't the villain, he'd just be this romantic lead. And Jen, you're the lead in Jason Canmore fangirl.
Absolutely fell in love with Jason immediately. But I just loved the whole. I mean, watching each of these characters actually slip between who they really were and who the parts that they were playing. Just a kudos to all three of them to make it so distinct, but not like it was over the top. It was very good.
Well, it was an opportunity to be subtle, and normally I have to nail jokes. So just playing the scene as it was actually kind of a relief to not have to try to find what's funny in the scene all the time, and just play it for what it was and just be sincere. And I love the sincerity of the character, that, he was pulling one over on her, but he also genuinely felt what he did, and his attraction was real, and him trying to do the job was real, and so he was as committed as I was trying to be.
It's beautifully subtly underplayed, though. So,
thank you.
Actors sometimes get hung up in I'm actually a bad guy pretending to be.
Oh, yeah. Indicating, yeah.
And indicate all day long. But when I gave it another listen, I'm just refer. You were talking about Keith David's, sort of.
Yeah, gorgeous. Yeah.
And the first words out of your mouth were, that's why I hired Dietrich. I can't even do it. It's like,
thank you, brother. Yeah. No, it was fun. It was fun to hear. It was also funny to see my wife and daughter react to that character's voice, because, it was like, they were like, oh.
Notes on that too, like, really, Dad? Really?
No. I got the opposite note with that. She was like, we're doing the whole thing there. Yeah.
There are some great scenes with you as the cop, with Elisa. Just, sincerity. That just when she says a friend of hers was assaulted, and you don't know if she's talking about the Gargoyles, you're just incredibly sympathetic, and the two of you vibe together. It was great. And then Scott, what you were doing as John, not as the reporter, not that was bad, but when you were sort of saying, look, you're not focusing on what we've learned here, and maybe we don't have to do this and this kind of thing.
Yeah, I'd like that line. Yeah. And then he's the one who turns at the end. It was a really good line. It was really good art.
But it's just great stuff. It really is.
Really
And,
is.
you know, accents aside, I adore Sheena's work in Gargoyles. I mean, she played a number of different characters for us. And
Yeah, no. It's one of those things. Look, when I moved back to London after living in LA for almost 10 years, people would go, "So, which part of America are you from?" And what happens is, you know, you eventually start becoming, people start identifying you as Canadian because you still say, "Oh, look how cloudy it is outside." You know, you get that whole thing going on. But it's one of those things that Scottish people. I'm going to tell you a little secret about Scotland, and you may not know this. And when you went there, everybody was really nice to you, because that's what Scottish people are like. You know, if you stop in Glasgow with a map back in the day, you'll have to beat people off who are trying to give you directions. That's one of the things is. And what they'll do is they'll either take you there, or they'll say, "Oh, well, I wouldn't start from here." That's the other thing that they say. Go all the way over there and start there. It's much easier. I still have the same thing in Madrid. I find American tourists with maps or looking at their phone, and I go, "Are you lost?" And they go, "Yeah, we're trying to get it here." And I go, "I'll take you." And then I usually walk them past the oldest restaurant in the world, which is a stone's throw from where I live, which has been in continuous operation since 1725. Go figure. It's got the same, its oven is older than America, put it that way. It's the thing that...
Probably in better shape, too.
It's quite a peaceful oven. There's not a lot that goes on apart from a lot of suckling pigs. But George Burns said the secret to good acting is sincerity. If you can fake that, you've got it made. And that's one of those things that when all else fails, sincerity, tell the truth, be straight, be honest, and it will work. It will almost certainly work. And one of the things is that people don't necessarily expect it, and they don't expect it to sort of hear it in a cartoon. Let's face facts. It's like when we teach and we help people, one of the things we always say is hide behind the truth. Nobody expects to find you there. Mm. And one of the great things is the Gargoyles and a lot of the other stuff I did, but particularly Gargoyles, as an actor, and you might think this too, Deidre, is that it's so heartwarming to be involved in something which has a genuinely good heart. Yeah. It's good stuff. You get involved in so many mean things, mad, sort of like bad things, negative things, kind of like cynical, nihilistic things. And some of the greatest things I've ever done, I did a series called Treasure Trekkers, which is about a bunch of mice having adventures through space and time, as it were. It's for kids, obviously.
As they do.
As they do. And I don't know about you, but I feel wonderful after I do a job like that. One of the things that I discovered, I was having a rough time, and I had to work on this script, which was like basically a storytelling thing. Maurice walked through the forest, one of those sorts of things. And I was feeling really bad, and I did this, and it was about 9 pages, and I had to work through it, work out the difficult bits. And after I finished doing it, because I was recording it the next day, I felt like $1 million. And what I did, I investigated it, and I discovered that there's an aspect of therapy, which is through storytelling and reading. And what it does is, because you have a physical, vocal, emotional, and imaginative involvement, and what it does is it just resets your organism. And the other thing being that if you're an actor and you do what we do, you get to do something that you're really good at. So what happened is this out of sync thing that you had going on, the minute you put it all together and you execute, it has this side effect on your system, on your parasympathetic nervous system, which what it does is it just makes it all work properly again. And I think that's one of the things that I got. And one of the reasons I have such gratitude for Jamie and such good memories of the time. Like, if I can remember what shirt Marina Sirtis was wearing.
It made an impression on you.
Well, no, what happens is everything in the world is right. Everything is exactly as it should be. You're doing what you're supposed to do. You're getting paid for it. You're surrounded by extraordinary people who are incredible at what they do, with lengthy and lauded careers like Ed Asner, keep David, for goodness sake. Deirdre, because Deirdre, I remember meeting Deirdre, and then about 5 minutes later, I was on the Drew Carey show, and I was like, oh my God, that's so impressive. so impressive.
Yeah, Jason's very much against type, and you were awesome at it. To dive into the episode, I mean, I love that opening scene with in 1495 Florence, where Demona steals.
Yeah.
Well, we'll find out it's a Medici tablet, and we meet one of your guys' ancestors, voiced by Neil Dixon. I think it's his last scene in the entire series. He's been around as a few characters, and it also reestablishes a reminder of what the hunters are, which is a really great way of bringing that up to speed. Jen and Greg. Jen first. What did you think of that scene?
Of the 1495 hunter. He's clearly pals with Leonardo da Vinci. I loved that, like, they come to this realization that in order to get her, they're going to have to get into the air. I loved that part of it. I mean, it's 500 years later and they're still chasing her. She's got to just be exhausted with this. Not that she's a very patient character in general, but...
she mocked him. You're overestimating yourself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he did think he had her this time. But so that whole... I liked how it was even storyboarded. I think it was very effective.
Great boarding.
We had a very strong team on this episode. You could tell that. It was 501 years from where our show began in 994, and 501 years exactly to where the episode was mostly set in 1996. And I noticed that last night, but I thought, yeah, that was me. That was like, I'm going to put this literally at the midpoint.
Exact middle.
Between the very first episode and the very last episode. Neil was always really great. Played a bunch of villains for us, but also, Grip, the gargoyle, great hero for us. And so it was fun to give him one more bite at the apple. I do think it's incredibly well boarded. I think it's a terrific scene. There's definitely a Da Vinci connection there. I'm very intentional. And they're both a little overconfident, I thought. And I think that was one of the ideas we had about the hunters, is that that as that conflict continues generation after generation, the hunters get more and more like Demona, and Demona gets more and more like them. That conflict, I mean, the theme for this whole three-parter is just the futility of vengeance, or as Xanatos would say, it's a sucker's game, and so to sort of show that the most vengeful characters we have just become more and more like each other. And I don't want to jump to the third episode, but obviously that's where John is headed. He'll become, as a human, the most Demona-like character that we have. Someone who can't acknowledge his or her own culpability, and so turns it and directs it outward against whatever works as a scapegoat.
Yeah, I did this, you did this, but great transition and incredibly precise and fast, but it really works within the context of the scene, that he just can't accept the responsibility for shooting his own brother. It's just terrible. Yeah.
And so it just becomes a lesson that I wish was a little less timely right now.
Yeah.
You'd like to think that we'd have advanced some, but maybe in another 501 years, I'll feel better about it. But
it'll always be timely, unfortunately, always. It's universal. the dark side of who we are. Now, for the light side of who we are, that CPR scene is great.
Outdated now, but great. And I'm sure they made you make it very accurate at the time.
Is it outdated? That's how I always resuscitate a gargoyle.
Gargoyle.
I mean, is there another way?
I always was like, we got to get this right. And then literally and everyone would say to me, yeah, this is how it's done. Because I don't know CPR. It's something I should learn, but I don't know it. And every time I use it in a show, I'm like, we've got to make sure we're doing it right. And everyone will assure me, yes, this is how it's done. And then the moment it comes out, I see all this response, which is like, God, they got it all wrong. How did they get it wrong? And I'm like, how did we get it wrong? But
I can't see a CPR scene and not think of The Office. You know, the episode where they all learn CPR.
They've just learned over the years that taking time. It used to be ABC: airways, breathing, compressions, and now it is compressions, airways, breathing. It's more important to get the heart moving than it is to get air in them, unless they're like a drowning victim or an infant. So
yeah, I don't know.
I do think this scene's effective.
It's
again,
very
maybe
effective.
not accurate,
Yeah.
but it's effective.
No, and I mean, it'd be better than someone not doing anything at all.
But I also
the
think
counting,
it really
the counting
shows
works. Yeah.
Elisa's, quieter heroism. The Gargoyles are sort of obviously heroic all the time, but this sort of shows her. And I just love, again, good storyboarding, good animation. This was a really well done show for the most part. But just the look that Goliath and Elisa exchange, it's easier when Sally and Keith are working together, but that look, there was no dialogue exchange.
No, there's no dialogue. It was just the look.
They're just looking at each other, and you're just like, yeah, you can just see how much they care about each other. And that's a credit to the artists on the show. I mean, it's easy for us in a script to say, they look at each other completely in love. That's easy to write. And then, when you've got actors performing that takes you the distance. But when you don't have the actors performing it, you're dependent on art, on a series of artists, because not just storyboard artists, but then the animators have to pull it off as well, and the in-betweeners and all these people all have to do this job. And it's and so I really noticed that moment last night after she saved Angela's life.
I love how she just steps in, like, this is what I got to do. There's no discussion. She's not going to explain it.
Out of my way, or clear some room, something like that.
Yeah, she just is going to get it done.
It's a great scene. And so it's a follow-up scene. There's a blink outside the precinct where John, as the reporter, shows up. And there's actually, and I applaud the bordering here, you can briefly see Jason kind of smirking at the sight of his brother before Lisa pulls him away. It's a blink and you'll miss it moment, but it's fun, especially with Matt talking about Easter Island statues and aliens.
Yeah.
But, and I was shocked. And then we have them in the car, and I was shocked. And Jen, I want to hear what you think also. I was shocked to hear that you weren't in the booth with them, because Dietrich, you and Sally had as much chemistry together as Keith and Sally did, and which really helped sell this.
Yeah, it was interesting because it was a viable choice for her. I mean, and she had to legitimately make that choice. And one of the things that when they set up this triangle situation, which is very old storytelling, but when it works is when her choice is real. Like, she could actually go with the other one, and as an audience member, you'd be like, yeah, I get that. You know what I mean? When it fails is when it's a false choice, where her other choice is just this geek or nerd or a terrible person, and you're like, no, don't do it. But he seems like a really good guy. And one of the things Greg was alluding to is they're united by their pain. They both experience real pain. And that, as a unifier for a couple, really does work. It's so sincere and it's so deep, and
They
you
get
touch
each
on a
other.
level that's real. Yeah, yeah. You get that you are a survivor of real pain and real trauma, and you see each other, as real human beings, and that was very beautiful and extremely rare for animation, frankly. That they share a real loss. That doesn't happen very often, and it was beautiful the way it was portrayed.
I agree. And Jen, what did you think of that scene? Jason's biggest fan.
Dude, Jason already had me. I already belonged to Jason by that point.
I just love that he's got a line which is written by Michael Reeves, I assume. I mean, it was either Michael or me, but probably Michael. It sounded like a Michael line, where she's describing how she's feeling, and he's like, "I've been there.
Yeah.
I'm still
Yeah.
there." And I just thought that's a great, again, just honest moment. I mean, at this point, we know he's the hunter. At the beginning of episode 1, we might not know, but by this time, we know he's the hunter.
Great subtle turn that Diedrich.
Yeah,
vocally.
it's just a terrific line reading on a great line, and I really it killed me last night when I was watching.
The thing that struck me when I was watching it, I was like, this is a more adult and mature view of the interaction of a man and a woman who are in the early days of burgeoning love than you find in virtually any contemporary Netflix or Amazon show.
That's true.
Seriously, there's a degree of kind of uncertainty and uncomfortable attraction that somehow people have forgotten how to write. I read a statistic that said in like the year 2002, approximately 24% of all movies were romantic comedies. Now it's less than 4%.
Huh.
And there's certainly something in the people who are writing, creating, etc., and the nature of society and the social media and the fact that nobody wants to make an idiot of themselves because somebody's going to pull their phone out and film it. And what that means is people don't make great declarations. They don't put themselves out there, and everybody is communicating through, messaging. And this is very much, and what it's done is it's killed this idea in kind of the world about how men and women, or men and men and women and women, whoever it may be, how they interact and how they fall in love with each other. And I thought, watching this, I'm like, wow, this is pretty sophisticated.
You see them connecting. You feel them connecting.
I think that, I don't know what you say, I find that a lot of people are now afraid of actual sincerity because too many people on the internet call it cringe, and I fucking hate that. I want to return to sincerity and earnestness. I want to return to that. Something has been lost along the way. We're more broken as a people than we've been in a very long time. Hopefully we'll find our way back. But negative chemistry, Elisa's with Owen, and she's just so exhausted with him by this point.
But then this is one of the flaws that I think Elisa has, that she is so eager to blame Xanatos for everything.
I don't blame her.
She's got reasons to have beef with him for sure. But she's just coming in guns a-blazing. Okay, what are you guys doing in here,
I mean, it's sort of a trope we play on all the time. We did it in the last episode with Brooklyn and Damona. We've done it with Lex and the Pack. And for Lisa, her big bogeyman is Xanatos. And so, anything that smacks of his involvement, she's sure he's the villain. And Owen is actually being sincere when he's like, yeah, actually, Xanatos owes a debt of gratitude to Goliath for rescuing his son. And of course, Elisa slept through that. So because of the magic spell, right? So she didn't get to see Xanatos at his most vulnerable. She didn't get to see Xanatos, offer of, I don't want to say friendship, but at least, admission that he owed Goliath one. And, even Goliath was suspicious of that, but is willing to sort of keep an open mind. But Elisa didn't witness any of that vulnerability, so she just assumes that Xanatos is, as usual, full of it. And so it's a fun moment. And then you have this great callback. And of course,
the best of callbacks.
Yeah. And I don't even know if Diedrich knows about this. I can't imagine we didn't tell him way back in the day, but that was 30
way back in the
years
day.
ago. So, but when you say what could be strong enough to leave claw marks in solid steel, Elisa in the very first episode of the show says, what could be strong enough to leave claw marks in solid stone?
Oh, that's cool.
So that's a callback to literally the very first episode. But what I love actually is her response. You say, have you ever seen anything like this? And in fact, you in this moment have a double agenda because you know it's Gargoyles that left those claw marks.
Right. Could only be. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you're trying to get information here, but Elisa's like, can't say that I have, because she doesn't want to lie to you.
You can't say.
Right. So she can't say that she has. Because of course she has, but she can't say it because she's got other people's secrets to keep. But I think it's interesting that she wants to get off on a technicality here. You know, she doesn't want to actually lie to you.
Yeah.
Because she likes
the sin of omission kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cops are good at this.
To lie directly. So she tries to say something that'll swing it, and it works. But I thought that was a really interesting moment. And then going out of the act on claw marks and solid steel. Yeah. I think this was a case where, so these 3 episodes were originally supposed to be a movie.
Oh.
And then we had to divide, a direct-to-video movie, not a feature.
Yeah, of course.
But we had to divide them into 3 episodes, and I created the structure of beginning each episode with a flashback so that it would have a nice 3-episode structure. But in terms of where the act breaks fell for commercials, because, we had commercials back then, we were winging it because it wasn't built to be this, build to the end of the act, go to commercial, build to the end of the act, go to commercial. So the choice to sort of say claw marks and solid steel, that's a great callback. That's what we'll use to go out to commercial. And when it happened last night, I was like, oh, it's the end of the act.
Love it.
Like, okay. There's no actual cliffhanger-y kind of moment there. It's just that was the best we could find. More or less fit the amount of time we needed.
Well, for fans, that would be enough, frankly. Like, you would feel like rewarded for your knowledge if you were a regular watcher of the show. So that's totally legit. And as far as me knowing, I didn't need to know. As an actor, you don't need to know that that's a callback because the character didn't have to know that. So I didn't technically need to know.
But all of us in our living rooms, when he says it all, we're like,
100%.
Ooh.
Oh, I know that.
Like,
there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah, it was good.
Well, there's something interesting in the process. I mean, my first experience of doing, animation voiceover was with Jamie. So you had the script, but that's like your lines are there, and there's a rough description of what's going on, but you need to have a very quick and sort of swift and deep image of what's going on and the dynamic that's happening, that's taking place. And as an actor, all you can really do is the thing that you have in front of you, your relationship, what you're trying to achieve from the other person, what you're trying to hide if that's going to be apparent, the sincerity of the moment. Because there's another thing that people need to understand about doing voiceovers. If you're worried about looking like a dick, this is not the job for you. Because you have to take things extremely seriously. Because if you don't, it just isn't going to work. And the other thing is you can't fake it. There's no, you can't just like be completely vacant and make your voice sound like that. It doesn't work. The entire organism has to be involved. And if it isn't, it just doesn't work. So you're in a room with a microphone in front of you with extraordinary people all around you who are all giving it, just bringing it, all of them. and people who with spectacular careers and extraordinary names and wonderful talents, and you're like, this is what we do, you know? And the fact of the matter is this, it's as serious a job as for an actor as anything else you will ever do. It really, and the reason it's in some ways it's more serious is because you have a very short period of time and you have to bring it, and you have no preparation per se. So everything that's happening there, this whole quantum of things is happening right there, right then, you know. And there's something so immediate about it. And what Jamie is doing is Jamie is sort of filling in. He's doing the Disney audio description, as it were, of exactly what's going on, where it's going on, because you
put you in the scene.
So you're going, where's this missile coming from? Okay, right. How's the guy strangling me? All right, and he punches you and they go, ooh, you know, okay, give me a bigger one, you know, give me a bigger one, you know. And it's interesting because when everybody gets into that flow state, Jamie, do you find yourself when you get into a flow state with a bunch of actors the other side of the glass? How does that work?
It's fantastic, and flow is the word. It's something that you feel. And I've got the greatest job in the world because I get to play all of the roles, as it were. I can't fuck up any of them, you know. And so, again, having a room populated with a bunch of you guys, it feels great. You know, you're talking about and you feel it, and you can feel. I get to feel that across the board, as if I've done anything. Because
there's another thing.
Stay out of the way.
Well, there's another thing, Dietrich. I'm not sure if you get this experience that actors in a room doing things like that. We did it before, but the last time we did it, we were kids.
Yeah.
And the last time we took it that seriously, we're like down the river embankment. We were in the park. We were in the yard. You know, we were like cops and robbers, cowboys and Indians, and we took it really seriously.
Yeah.
And if anybody watched the kids doing that, they would have laughed because of their sincerity, and that's what it comes back to.
The commitment to it. Yeah, that's absolutely right. It's as close to playing as you'll get. And you have to play the scene, and everybody's on the same page, or it completely falls apart. I mean, what Jennifer was saying earlier of it being flat. I've heard a lot of on-camera actors come and do guest stars on shows that I've been a regular on. And I can hear in the cans it's not going to work, that it's going to be too flat. That they may be playing, they may be thinking the scene, but they're not. I didn't say, I said playing, but they're not actually playing. So they're not like 100% committing to what might on TV, or if a camera's in your face, be too much, because cam will pick up like micro things that you could be thinking. But if it's just your voice, if you only have that one instrument, you got to play the hell out of it. You just have to play the hell out of it. And just make sure
in on your eyes here.
Yeah, right.
I don't care if your eyes are dewy. I can't. From your lips to your lips. That's it.
Yeah, we'll do that later. So you have to bring all those colors in that moment and play it in a way that is so, as you were saying, Scott, so sincere that it cuts through the idea that there's an artifice to it, that we're watching a puppet show. Because it could fall apart.
And there's another thing is that you're dealing with an audience that back at that time would be a younger audience, which is incredibly astute. And there's nothing mawkish about this. There's nothing which is like, let's not take this too seriously. It just doesn't work. It absolutely doesn't work. And the absolute commitment that you need in the moment. I've seen. It reminds me of that thing that Philip Seymour Hoffman's character says to the kid in Almost Famous. He says, the only currency in this bankrupt world is what two people share together when they're uncool. And you, my friend, are very uncool.
I love that movie.
That's what we are. And I think Jamie's probably the least cool person.
That is the very true.
Person. And
I mean, he's at the top of my list, at least.
I had this surreal experience. When I was a little kid, I used to entertain my family. I had a miserable childhood. as you can probably tell. And I used to entertain my family and friends by going, the force is strong in this one, right? With with a teacup. Then I found myself some 15 years later in a studio in Los Angeles, California, going, "May the force be with you." It literally.
But that you feel the kid in yourself again.
Yeah.
Oh no! Of course. It was. A lot of the time, people would say to me, and they've said to me throughout my life, they go, "So how do you get good at accents? When do you start?" I said, "Well, it helps if you start when you're about 10 or 11 years old. That's really when you should start doing it. Have a totally miserable childhood that you need to escape from. And before you know it, you will have all these useless skills until you find yourself in front of a microphone or on a set or in a theater. And then you will realize what you were put on this planet for." It's like when Sweeney Todd when he gets his razors and says, "My arm is now complete." That's it. You found your rather peculiar purpose.
Yeah.
Uncool, useless skills all day long.
Yeah. Speaking of uncool, we then move on to the Knights and Limited building. We've got Marina Sirtis, Sheena Easton doing her American accent, and Tim Curry's final appearance in the series. And it is a fun.
Say Chamber of Horrors. How cool is it that we have Tim Curry saying Chamber of Horrors?
Yeah.
I have to tell you, I did a movie with Tim Curry, and me and my friend Tom Ayres saved his life. Actually saved his life. We were doing the film McHale's Navy. Well, this is the other thing about Tim. We became very good friends. I actually lived in his house for about 6 weeks while I was looking for somewhere to live.
Beautiful garden.
1996. Oh my God, in Los Feliz, it's absolutely amazing. With the gun range in the basement and the bootleggers. Secret stash. We were doing this film, McHale's Navy, with Tom Arnold, Dean Stockwell. I mean, incredible cast. Bruce Campbell was in it. I mean, it was an amazing thing. And we were in this hotel on a Sunday afternoon, and there was a red flag up over the beach, and Tim's a very strong swimmer. And he went off to swim. And he was about, 80 yards out. My friend Tom, who's a stand-up comic, he looked out and he went, "He's not waving." And I went, "Well, he's not waving." And he said, "Come on." We grabbed a canoe and we paddled out to him. And he said, "Oh, thank God you're here." Right? He grabbed onto the canoe. The canoe turned and the waves flipped us off it. And he held onto the canoe, that sort of toggle in the end of the canoe was brought to shore. Us, on the other hand, because there was this terrible riptide,
oh my goodness,
started to take us away from the beach. I have no idea. I'm Scottish. We don't swim in the sea. If you swim in the sea near Edinburgh, you're dead in 4 minutes. That's how it works. It's you go to the beach and sit in your car. That's what you do at the beach in Scotland. Enjoying the horizontal rain. So we went into the sort of the washing machine of this. He knows a little bit more about it. He managed to scramble out after a while. I was like, I'm going to drown. I'm going to drown wearing Teva sandals and sunglasses. I'm going to have the stupidest looking corpse imaginable. Told me to calm down. I was going to drown myself because I was panicking. I chilled out. I eventually got out. Tim had already taken a Valium, but Tim, if we hadn't gone out, we would have no Tim Curry. Right? That's the Tim Curry story.
Well, thank you for that.
And the first time I met Tim, I said, "Tim, I've got to confess to you that I've been imitating your voice for years. Because that's what you do, is that you learn you learn accents and you learn how to do voices." And I always said, I've probably stolen work from you by imitating you.
And he probably started the same way. I'm sure he's imitated people. I hear a lot of actors start out that way, so...
Well, it's one of those things. It's like when they had to redub, I think it was Spartacus, they got Anthony Hopkins to do Laurence Olivier, because Anthony Hopkins worked in Olivier's company back in the 60s and 70s. Yeah. So, everybody does everybody else, as it were. Yeah. So I have incredible fondness and a deep, profound love and respect for Tim.
So say we all, Tim Curry is just a treasure. And
of course, he's the over-the-top mad scientist again in this.
And I love how Robin Corey, that's her alias here, immediately groks onto what's happening here. I mean, that's a lot of techno babble, and just as much from her as from Tim. It's great, and Dominique Demona gets a little handsy with her at one point, but
And one thing, if I could just interject, one thing that I really liked and noticed last night, which I thought was really cool direction or storyboarding, I'm not entirely sure what it is. Anyway, she's in the foreground and talks about essentially the plot, and they're in the background and look at each other, recognize that they found an ally, and it's a cool setup. Like, you could do an animation because you don't need a split diopter to have all of them in like the same focal length. But this was like we see the interaction between the two, the mad scientist and our bad lady and their new arrival. So that was kind of cool. I like that scene.
Yeah. Jenny, like that scene?
I think it's just amazing watching Robin manipulate these two. Because that's absolutely what she's doing. And it works.
Yeah. So usually when Jamie's on, he's been on for a couple of episodes with Tim Curry. So this is Tim's last scene. We usually in those previous episodes have done a lot of impressions of Tim. So Jamie, one more time. Oh, Shantae, my dear.
I wouldn't dare try to imitate the inimitable.
Oh, Shantae, my dear.
I loved it.
You sound like he's got food in his mouth or something.
Yeah, I loved it too. And I love that next scene, like wake up healed, Goliath is still promising vengeance, and there's a very quick blink and you'll miss it.
I do want to say that animation where they wake up there is fantastic.
Yeah.
That's one of our best wake up, bursting out of stone scenes ever. It's gorgeous stuff.
Yeah, but there's a brief, quick, and you'll miss it moment where Angela seems just as into the idea of getting revenge as Goliath does, and it's Broadway who kind of has...
Who's like, whoa, hey.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great. And then we get the dinner invitation with Elisa and Jason.
Well, there's one other thing I just want to bring up from the Tim Curry scene. We go into this vault, right? And you see the Medici tablet, which she stole in the teaser, but you also see, because again, we were big about playing fair with the audience. You see praying gargoyle statue. You see the DI7, and they place the CV1000 virus, container there. So it's like all the pieces are lined up, and then we get that reference at some point of like, during the fight, it's like, I've waited 1,000 years, you can wait 2 more nights. And it's like, and Goliath is so angry he doesn't pick up on it, but like, we'll explain it all in the 3rd episode, but all the hints are revealed in this episode. So that in essence, we're playing fair with the audience.
And then we get the dinner invitation where they go to her apartment and the chemistry is just through the roof, and then they kiss. I mean, the cat likes him, but Jen, what do you think of this scene?
And then Goliath's creeping outside the window. It's kind of a heartbreaking scene. Like, first, they're connecting, they're understanding each other. They clearly have feelings for each other. This could, if Goliath were not there, be something big. But
yeah, and also there's a part of you as an audience member that's like, well, I mean, he is the same species.
Yes,
so we could start there.
Connect a little bit better, you're not 1,000 years old, and
you could do things during the day.
Whole thing works honestly because of Diedrich.
Oh, thanks, Jimmy.
And I would say because he's selling it, but the fact is it works because he's not selling. Deals.
Yeah, I think that. I think Sally's also great in that scene, and but one of the things that I remember having this discussion with Michael Reeves about is, we often see that scene where, the character sees the woman he loves kiss the other man, and then he takes off, and then he doesn't hear the conversation that takes place afterwards. And I was like, we're not doing that. We'll play it like that's what it's going to be, and then we'll see that Goliath turns back around, and he's there, and he hears. And so it's not just a misunderstanding, a moment where she was caught off guard. We hear from her why she thinks, and it doesn't mean as much, frankly, to Jason as it does to Goliath. Right. Why she thinks her relation, as much as she cares about Goliath, why she thinks it's unworkable. And so when it's not just, I saw them kiss and so she's betraying me. No, he's hearing exactly what the problem is. So the anger that comes out of that, when you throw the anger he had toward the hunters in the first place because of their attack on Angela and her nearly dying, and then you throw in all this roiling emotion, which of course no one does as well as Keith, about the fact that he's in love with Elisa and she has just said, it's not the kiss that's bothering Goliath, although that doesn't help, but it's the fact that she's basically said,
it can't,
that relationship is impossible.
Yeah.
And so
something that he's always feared. I mean, it's not like it's out of the blue.
No, it's not. But
hearing
it said out loud, that's a very different thing. And she's telling someone who he is obviously now viewing as a rival, not because Jason is the hunter. He has no idea about that, but because Elisa just kissed this guy and she is confessing this stuff to him that she hasn't even said to Goliath.
Mm-hmm.
In modern psychological terms, they both suffer from severe attachment issues. They're probably both dismissive avoidance, which means their relationship, which is impossible and untenable, is perfect for both of them.
Mm-hmm. I will admit,
at least this is the one that shuts it down all the time.
I will admit, as a viewer, when I first saw this, I was in my teens, so I hadn't been in any of these positions yet. Now, in my mid-40s, I've been in all three of their positions at least once in my life. So I get it. I watched this scene and I have tremendous compassion for all three of them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that's the idea, is that there's no, Jason being the hunter aside, there's no villain in this scene. Yeah. Goliath is stopping by to get Elisa. He's not stalking her. He's not, he came upon this by accident, and he can't turn away. Jason is sincere about his feelings for Elisa. He's got another agenda, but he's, I think, come to believe it has nothing to do with Elisa. I was concerned that, about this was a way to get information about Gargoyles, but his feelings for Elisa are sincere, and her feelings for both Jason and Goliath are sincere, and she's copping to them all. She's not, being disingenuous about it. And then Jason leaves, Goliath flies off, and I'm like, no one's getting dinner.
I hope Cagney is. I hope Cagney's getting dinner.
Somehow it had to come back around to food.
The only thing that ate was the cat.
Well, it's true that nobody's satisfied, and that's really nice. Like nobody got what they wanted. Nobody knows what they want, and that's very human.
Yeah, and Keith's performance next scene, she wasn't available. The she sounds like it's his own sentence for a moment. I mean,
yeah.
But I think another thing. I mean, first of all, that whole scene, the voice acting is amazing, but the animation sells it even harder.
100%.
Like, you just feel the anguish that Goliath is feeling, like just the way he's carrying himself, and how tragic Jason is, and how conflicted Elisa is, and it all comes together. The voice and the animation all really just are amazing in that scene.
Greg and Jennifer and I have talked about in the past. We've definitely had episodes where the voice acting is compensating for the fact is that in this episode or that episode that we just didn't get the character acting in the art, and it works anyway because our cast in general was so great that that they can sell it in the voice even when it really isn't, you're not feeling it on the screen. But this episode is so well animated,
Really is.
that everything is contributing.
Walt Disney Japan right here.
Yeah, Walt Disney Japan. And that was obviously, they were involved in the production of the show from day one. They cared tremendously about it. And in any episode that they animated was going to be, just giving us that whole other layer that we didn't always get, particularly if the episode was being animated.
That said, these three do stand out to me anyway. I mean, is it because it's supposed to be a movie? Did they know?
I think so. I think it was scheduled for them to do as a movie. And then when Disney Home Video decided that they didn't need or want or whatever a Gargoyles movie, and we broke it up into three. It was still, I think, theirs to do. But I feel like in the previous episode, the first episode, there's a chunk that was animated elsewhere, and you can tell. But in this one, and I haven't watched the third one. I mean, I've watched it obviously many times, but not in probably a decade or so. And I'm waiting till we're about to record that podcast the night before I watch it. But this one, but my memory is that is also fantastically animated. But this one really knocked me out. Feels like a whole level above in terms of everything from effects, like the explosion at the end, and them bursting out of stone when they wake up. But most importantly, the character acting is great, and you pair that with this tremendous voice acting, and it really raises the bar. I don't think there were a lot of shows in the 90s at that level that had on television features as a whole different ballgame, Disney animated features and that kind of thing. But on the budgets that we were on, to get that level of both voice and character acting from the art and the voice acting, I don't think you see something like that quite that often. Usually one is having to compensate for the other. And this time we're just firing on all cylinders.
You were. And speaking of firing on all cylinders, that scene on the airship, we'll get to the hunters bit in a little bit, was great with that encounter with Demona, the Lexington, Brooklyn actually being a little bit afraid of Goliath. He's in his rage there. And if I were Goliath, I don't know these hunters are, of course I'd be ready to believe that Demona is involved with them. I mean, she is, just not in the way that he thinks. I love that scene. And
there's a scene where when they're breaking into the airship and Goliath pulls off this hatch and just drops it. Originally in the script, when it was a movie, there's a scene where we have this character in the show who we referred to as the Schmo, named Vinny, who was voiced by Jeff Bennett. And I know we recorded this, but the character Vinny was someone who just kept encountering the gargoyles, and his life just kept getting totally screwed by them, with them having no knowledge of him. And so I had this scene where Goliath
That's a very funny idea.
off,
Sorry to interrupt.
and then we see the hatch, this big metal hatch, fall and nearly kill Vinny. Like, it falls right in front of him. Like, if he had taken one more step, he'd have died. And I hated cutting it, but the whole episode, because it was originally designed to be a movie, there were lots of little tiny beats that had to be cut, and one of them was the little
Poor Vinny.
Vinny theme, because
Like, I'm walking here.
can you believe
Come
it?
on.
Can you believe
Come
it?
on.
The Gargoyles nearly killed me again.
New York City and the Gargoyles.
I
Love
mean,
it.
Vinny got his revenge when he hit him with a banana cream pie. That's good.
Vinny was Jeff Bennett doing Vinny Barbarino from
Barbarino.
Welcome Back, Card.
It started out as a one-liner incidental.
It started out, we just kept using him over and over.
Yes, just to cut.
Yeah.
Jeff Bennett was the scariest person in the room.
Oh, because of vocals.
Because of everything he could do.
Yeah.
He was.
Oh, he's so
he
talented.
was,
It's crazy.
No. You saw him and you went,
What the what?
I can do what I can do, but I can't do what he does.
Yeah.
And
Just has some of the most amazing voice separation. There's a lot of people, and well, you guys know a lot of these guys that can just do a million characters, and they can improv and sing, and they're great in comedy and drama. Jeff is absolutely one of those people, but Jeff has this additional layer of his voice separation. I can't tell you how many movies and stuff I've done where Jeff's playing like 6 characters in the scene just by chance. So he's talking to himself, and you have no idea.
No idea.
Vocal chameleon.
And most people shouldn't, hopefully, ever. But for me, it's whatever. Like I can hear, actors that I love, but I hear that, that's that actor that I love doing that one. Jeff's vocal separation is just insane.
That's what it is. He doesn't. He can make his voice sound completely different. I can do accents. I can change the tone. I can become younger, older, and all the rest of it, and whatever it might be. But his voice sounds like a completely different human being.
Don't know.
And I'd never seen that before, ever. And I was like, oh my god, maybe I can't do that. But I don't know.
In the
Deirdre,
same room
have you
is
seen
Tom
other people?
Adcox, who does one voice really well.
Yeah, but I don't know, Dietrich. I'd never seen that before. I'd never ever seen anybody who was capable of. And now he's doing the other voice.
Well,
and you're like,
that's the real card trick, isn't it? I mean, I call it a card trick because it happens right in front of you, and you know it's a trick, but it's still magic, and it's really remarkable. There's another actor on the show that is like that, and that's Frank Welker. The first time I saw Frank do his magic was on Hercules, the animated series, when he did a donkey. And it's a story that I tell because when he sat down, he just seemed like a nice old guy. And then,
the most unassuming looking.
It was just sweet, like, hi guys. He sounds like Freddy. And
Yeah,
then,
he's Freddy, man.
Yeah, he's Freddy. He sounds just like Freddy. And then I think it was Jamie. Didn't you direct?
I did, yes, I did.
So Jamie set up this whole scene for like a narrative for the donkey, that it's a hot day and that he's been pulling a cart of apples and that he's an adolescent donkey and that the guy who's been leading him all day is eating an apple but holds it behind his back just outside of the range of the donkey actually getting to the apple. And Frank's like, okay. And he goes, go ahead, roll it. Like that. And then sounds exactly like that. And I mean, we can all do impressions of donkeys, as you were saying earlier, Scott. Like, we're all kids. We can do like the sound of a vacuum, or we could make it sound like a donkey. But he sounded just like that donkey.
Yeah.
And my mouth, my jaw hit the floor. And Jamie came over the thing and he goes, "I love it when people first work with
first time
Frank. First time you work with Frank, because you always remember your first time."
Yep.
It's a little bit like.
Frank is playing Cagney the cat in this episode, and Brahms,
the dog.
Yeah.
For me, I was just absolutely blown away because I'd never heard or seen anything like that. I didn't know that job existed.
Right.
I didn't know that was a gig that you could
Frank owns a couple airplanes and a hangar that he parks them in, along with a half dozen cars and a golf course that is his own private, based on being able to do that. So
yeah.
It's extraordinary.
Rewarded for his talents.
I hope you named his plane Starscream, and I hope he yells at it. So he was the original Megatron, for those who don't know.
Oh my gosh!
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those things. It's a little bit like it's like when you ever seen those footage of an artist who just with a couple of strokes makes something that looks exactly the way they want it to look.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it couldn't be measured in its perfection. It just simply is. It exists between the atoms of one thing and the other for it to be completely correct. And that's what you do when you hear that sort of thing. And it's the thing I'd say, because I've done a degree of directing in my time, and a great deal of writing, because it's interesting when you were talking about script there, Greg, because I think a great part of script is archaeology. That when you go after the theme, that what will happen is things will reveal themselves to you. But one of the things that you lust for or you hope for in an actor is that they will do something that you could never direct and bring something that you could never write. And if you're lucky enough to find that, you're just like an angel just walked through the room, moving on. You know.
Every day.
That's poetry, dude. That's poetry. But, I just love that scene on the airship, their encounter with Demona, and then they all get captured because they're fighting each other. Of course, it's Demona. So of course, they're fighting her. And they're in the cell, and they learn who the hunters are through Demona. And it's such a great scene. It's one of the only civil conversations she ever really has with them, and that's as civil she gets with them. But, Jen, what do you think of that scene?
I love that adding her to the mix, you start really seeing how off Goliath is. So I love having her there. I love that her and Lex figure out how to get out of there. Like, she can connect with them on so many different levels, and yet she still, hates everything. Not just them. She just hates everything.
My hatred of you and your clan pales against my hatred for them. Yeah. She hates a lot of people.
Big feelings. That's all.
She's so mean. She is her own worst enemy on every level.
Yeah, and what I like about that next action sequence where they're escaping is Goliath and Demona totally believe they killed these two hunters.
Oh yeah, they totally think that that's a something blow that he said that it's just
have been dealt a major blow.
Yeah, they think they're done.
Well, they think there's one left at that point, which Demona is not taking seriously because she's got other things coming, and Goliath just wanted to sit there and wait for him. He wanted to wait for Dietrich, which no, that's a great sequence. And Greg, thank you for that particular sequence, and both of you, thank you for those action. Well, Dietrich isn't in the scene, but Scott is. But Greg, so any thoughts on that scene?
Watching it last night, what I was struck by is there's this moment where someone came up with the idea of Demona sort of straightening out her armband and using that to short circuit it. And then clearly someone else, and I don't remember who's who, I don't remember this conversation at all, but I could see the seams showing in the writing because Lexian says, he rips up the floor and he says, well, I could pull these wires out, but that would probably set off an alarm. And so they don't do that. We do the clever thing of using her armband, right?
Which still
and then Goliath bends the bars and immediately sets off the alarm. So it's sort of like, okay, so that didn't really accomplish anything. He might as well have just ripped the wires out and then they immediately bend the bars and go out, right? I mean, there was no need to go through the whole thing with the armband, but I feel like someone must have said, but the armband idea is really cool. And I guess it all works when you find out, within 5 minutes that Robin intentionally let them escape, wanted them to escape, set it all up, in essence, fake their deaths in order to be able.
But also, if I could interject, it's also them working together as a team. Like if he had done it completely on his own, then that would have been a different story beat. But the fact that they did rely on one another and it worked, as far as it did, is legit story point.
Yeah, I think it's great, but I could again, it was someone just sort of. I can almost hear the conversation in the writers' room where it's like, oh, but if he just rips it out, why not just? And it's like, we'll come up with a reason for that, because we want that. We want them to team up, and we want to use the armband because that's neat and kind of thing. But last night watching it, I was really struck by, there I feel the writers at work.
There's a certain amount of...
And to be honest, for most of this episode, I don't. Most of this episode, I'm just into the story. And there's some things I remember, some things I don't remember, but it's just flowing and it's good. But there was a moment where I'm like, yeah, that's the writers at work. That's us at work. But otherwise, I thought it was great. But the scene I really love is what follows it, which is when Jason comes back. And clearly he's been radioed to say, hey, we've got the demon and 3 more gargoyles. And he's like, where are they? Oh, they escaped. And he's like, what the fuck?
I leave you alone for 5 minutes.
And, earlier, Jason's like, let's just get this over with. Not Jason, John is like, let's just get this over with. And Robin's like, no, we'll wait for Jason. And at the moment when I was watching, I'm like, well, why is she doing that? And then later you realize, no, she's doing it on purpose. Because she's made the connection that these are new gargoyles, not the ones that they fought last night, which means it's not only not just the demon, and it's not just the 3 we saw last night. These are 2 more that we've never seen before. We have no idea how many there are. So I need to let them go, and I need them to not be suspicious. And so all the sort of weirdness of the scene that felt writerly to me, I'm not talking about the armband this one time. That really was writerly. But all the other things that sort of made me go, oh, come on. I'm like, oh, no, that was her plan. It all made sense by the time you get to the end of the scene between the 3 of them. And I love that scene so much because John is so reasonable and she is so efficient. Robin is so efficient.
Cold.
And Jason is so and one of the reasons Jason is so angry is the same reason Goliath was so angry, because he just left this thing with Elisa that went badly.
Yeah.
And it's coloring everything for Goliath and Jason. And I just love how that sort of parallels everything there.
So I have a question. Did Robin always suspect that Dominique was Demona and didn't tell the other 2? Because we get the big reveal, and I feel like they're learning it for the same time at the same time we are.
I think she has suspected it clearly. I don't know about how long, but she's clearly made this connection and is just revealing it to them there for the first time. And so the fact that she turns into a human during the day, the fact that I love that. That's very Piper. Their musculoskeletal structure are identical. I don't know if those are words.
I had to write.
They work.
I had to put those words down on the Gargwiki entry.
And then
That's like on Phineas and Ferb. On Phineas and Ferb, they call that that the pseudoscience holds up.
Yeah,
the pseudoscience holds up. Yeah.
Confirmed,
sir. And then you see the image of their superimposing over each other, and it's like, oh yeah, that worked out. That was pretty cool. That's a cool.
Is there a term for a gargoyle daywalker?
She's the only one.
No, she's unique.
She's it.
She's the only one.
She kind of. It was a gift. It was a gift that was given to her by Puck.
Yeah,
that's Puck.
Less than a year earlier. She's only been able to turn human for about a year.
For me, the most chilling line in the entire episode is when Demona says, perhaps we're not so different after all. I mean, earlier in the series, there's maybe a time when you might want them to reconcile and her to get over it. But at this point, I don't even think it's in the cards here because we know it doesn't happen. But if it was happening, it's on her terms, and that's chilling. So,
yeah,
I mean, I said in part one and recorded
Well,
part
it's
one.
chilling because Goliath's response is maybe we're not.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's not chilling that she says, "Oh, you did something like me." You expect his response to that is something along the lines of, "I'm nothing like you," or stops him. You know, it makes him think,
Check himself.
Yeah,
Right.
it checks. But no, he's just agreeing, and that's what's chilling. Because you expect her to say shit like that, but you don't expect him to agree.
And Brooklyn hates everything about this.
Oh yeah, he's not happy. He's seeing it and he is not happy.
Yeah, to circle back to the airship with the three hunters. Finally, all three of you in a scene together. I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but I love, and I pointed this out last time, we get the dynamics right here. Jason Dietrich is the passionate leader. Sheena Robin is the cold tactician. And Scott John, your heart's not in it at this point. You're kind of allowing yourself to be bullied into going along with this, and that's going to hit the fan next time in part 3. But
It feels so bad for John. You feel like his struggle against his siblings, and this is what they've been taught to do all their lives.
The burden of their family legacy. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot.
He's trying to find some logic in it all.
I was trying to work out because the next one, I become a full-blown psychopath. I can't remember.
yes, you do.
Yeah.
That's and if I remember, I actually become English at that stage.
You can
Like the psychopath.
become Alan Cummings.
Well, no, because the John Canmore, right? That
Becomes John Castaway.
becomes John Castaway. Yeah, because I remember because Alan and I had another job at the time. I think I was going up to Poland to do a movie
Yeah,
or something.
we wanted to. So there's a kind of sort of a third season that they did for ABC, which I don't want to go into. But I wrote the
We don't
first
talk about
episode of it, and that's where we introduced John Castaway. But you know, longtime viewers of Gargoyles would get that was John Canmore.
Right.
But we intentionally had Castaway with an English accent for most of the episode, and then he's got one line at the end where he's been defeated, but he's escaping. And so he shouts out, "Dream of me, Goliath, dream of me." And that's with a Scottish accent, where he's sort of revealing who he
And I
is.
did that.
No, that was the thing. We wanted you because you were great and you were not available, so we found some unknown guy named Alan Cummings.
Where is he now? That's the question.
And so Alan did this one episode as Castaway, which was my last episode. And then I think, and Jamie, you were still on the show, but I was gone for the last 12 episodes. I think Castaway came back 2 or 3 times. And then I think, Scott, you came back and were playing the character.
It was.
I remember because I actually used to have it in my demo reel because it was so funny, you know, and he was giving this whole speech about they are an abomination and they must be eliminated. You know, don't you care about the people? He says, not really. You know, and it was very. It was one of those things where with the voice acting of it and the way that it was played, you could see how it very, very clearly influenced the animation. Because it was the sort of thing that would be very hard to put on the page. Because all of this sort of stuff, and then, not really. You know, it was sort of like a real, something of a zinger at the time. God, that was good stuff.
One of the great things about this show, exactly what you were just imitating there, the difference between, or the combination of big, broad, verily unto thee I say, and then incredibly subtle.
And something very offhand. Yeah, it's the funny thing is I've explained it to people, the process of doing things like Gargoyles and the other animated shows that I did when I was there. And here in Spain, everything's dubbed, everything's to image.
Yeah.
The idea is you're following what somebody else has already done somewhere else, sometimes a long time ago. So the idea that you take voice and it influences the animation is like, what is this heresy of which you speak? It's a very unusual thing. For example, EDR, they're I don't know if they still do it, they go beep, beep, beep,
Yeah,
right? They don't do that here. You basically watch for when people start talking, look at the time code. They don't even have the line. That's more like a kind of, no. That's more like a French thing. Here it's all done, by eye, and extraordinarily so. But unfortunately, it begins to. The influence on the voice is that everybody's holding their breath all the time. So you get people who are talking like, they all sound like Shatner. They're all they're all sounding like this. They're all, and I speak Spanish, so la cosa que pasa es que no sé qué. So you've got this whole thing, and it's all based on holding breath. But they can't believe that the actors would influence the animation, and I'm always like, well, where else are you going to get other human beings to kind of push things in one way or the other?
That's the ideal way to do it. They animate it to the voices, and we generally love it for that. I mean, these shows hold up. Gargoyles really holds up, and you were both of you were such a terrific part of all of this, and we need to come up now onto the final scene of the episode.
Dun, dun, dun.
The destruction of the clock tower, and I
love how, given the explosion we see, Robin earlier describes that as a surgical strike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be a surgical strike. Boom.
And they're talking themselves into doing it. Well, she's pretty gung-ho about doing it, but they're talking themselves. Jason's considering all the possibilities. John's is against
worried
it.
about it. People in the building, dumb things like that.
And they're rationalizing everything. There could be dozens in there, or maybe because of the demon, they turn human too, and they could walk out. And they
worked themselves into quite the frenzy.
Yeah, I just love that conversation. And Jen, do you remember the first time you watched this? It was I did not expect.
I wasn't expecting the obliteration of the clock tower. Like it was home now. That Wyvern was not home anymore. This was home, and that it was like a painful thing to see that destroyed.
I think, and we'll talk about this more next time, but I think I was waiting to see part 3. Okay, how did they get out of this? Maybe the missile didn't connect. Maybe this, maybe that. But we'll talk about that more next time. But I was on the edge of my seat, and I got to tell you,
quite the cliffhanger.
I got to tell you, I was happy at the time we only had to wait 1 day as opposed to a week, because that day was a very long day. I recall this. I just wanted to go home and watch part 3.
I know, that's amazing.
Yeah. So
clearly, this whole 3-parter just kept ramping it up harder and harder and harder, but I was not expecting it to go that hard.
It's very interesting watching it from this particular perspective, as you go, well, this is an interesting exploration of the concept of fundamentalism. That's really what this is about. This is about the idea of inherited hatred, and the persecution. Kind of like historical persecution for the sake of persecution, for the need to have meaning. That's kind of, if you wanted to analyze it, that's sort of how it kind of comes out in this. With the person who wants to do it because they feel they're justified, the other person wants to do it because they're racked with hatred, and somebody who's in the middle of it going, are we really sure about that?
This family's been indoctrinated into this for over 10 centuries at this point. So so Scott, it's exactly that. And Greg, that was quite the cliffhanger you left us on.
That's a cliffhanger. Yeah.
Yes.
But I also think it's a complex one. In other words, it's not just, okay, a building's been blown up, but we've got our heroes inside. You have, again, with us playing fair with the audience, you have this moment where Lexington spots that tracker on Goliath's shoulder, and blink and you miss it. You don't see the tracker, but it's there. And Elisa casually walks into the building. Jason, on his sky sled or whatever we called those, I don't remember, spots her, and he's like, not now, and so suddenly he's off mission. I mean, they have a plan here. and he's off mission, and John's like, Jason, what the fuck are you doing? And you see some stellar animation as Jason crashes through the front door of the precinct house to go rescue Elisa, because, despite what they all rationalized, he's like, we're blowing this building up. I can't risk her being hurt. There are 40, 50 other people in this building who I'm willing to risk in order to kill the gargoyles, but not her.
Not this one, yeah.
And what's interesting is we don't get to see even that he gets to her, and that building goes up. He's inside, she's inside, all our gargoyles are inside. And John has been left alone just outside, and Robin is blithely pressing that button, right? And yeah, I get accused of ending shows on cliffhangers all the time when I haven't.
When they're not cliffhangers.
When they're not cliffhangers, just like, hey, there's an extra thread here that we sort of went out on an interesting thing, but this is a cliffhanger. I mean, everybody's life is a mistake right now.
Yep.
And then I also love at the very end, we don't just put up to be continued. We put up to be, we have Jason read it, Dietrich read it.
To be concluded.
To be concluded. Yeah. Like, oh, this is going to end. And that was...
I've never seen that used before, by the way, and it was very cool.
Yeah, that was one of mine.
That was a good one.
To say concluded instead of continued. Yeah. Because that, to be continued, the audience is used to that.
Yeah.
And I wanted to shake them up a little. If they weren't shaken enough by the explosion.
You really were just shaking everything.
I wanted them to be unnerved even by something as straightforward as, oh yeah, there's another episode coming. But it's going to end.
Mission accomplished, because I remember.
Yeah.
This I remember. All right. We're going to go around the horn for any final thoughts in this episode. Jen, do you have any final thoughts?
It's a great episode. Great animation. Great voice acting. The action is off the charts good. I definitely know we were all on the edge of our seat for the next episode. It had us captivated. So.
Yeah. Dietrich, any final thoughts on this episode?
Even as somebody that didn't watch the show regularly or even watch the show, I didn't know that they were going to blow it up. I completely forgot the plot, but it had been established in my mind that was like their permanent set. And like when you're on a television show, for example, you use the same set all the time, and that's just where you go. And it felt like that. And then I was like, when it happened, I was like, oh, holy shit. Like, and that doesn't happen very often. I mean, it's a kid's show. And I was literally, that was my reaction.
Didn't you guys blow up Drew Carey's house?
Right, exactly. Well, precisely what I'm saying. On television, that's what you do. You return so that the viewers have something. It's like touching home base over and over and over again. And it's comforting to the viewers that they have this thing to return to. And that's what they want. That's part of the reason they watch series television. And to blow it up is like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's like wrecking the car in Knight Rider or blowing out the Batcave. You're like,
it works. Yeah.
Now what?
Yeah. And then to be concluded, it's like, is this going to be the end of the show? It worked for me.
Yeah. Scott, any final thoughts?
One of the things you got to understand, if you're doing voiceovers like this, you could ask Jamie or anything else, you go, well, so when's this going to be on TV? You're like, I have no idea, man. I couldn't tell you.
Eventually.
No idea. We're dealing with like multi-nation kind of like projects that happen here, there, and everywhere else. So one of the things you got, unless that was your thing, is blink and you miss it. You're not going to see. It would be very hard to track it down when it was on TV. Also, you probably lost track of what you did, the episode you did, the name of it, or anything else like that. You never had a script.
In the olden days when you couldn't just find it and stream it. So
no, and the other thing is there was no YouTube that you could sort of like look things up on our IMDb, for example.
Yeah, there's no catch.
Where everything is logged right now. I found the names or the episodes that I did. It's like I did Beverly Hills 90210. I didn't know what episode it was until it appeared on IMDb, because there's hundreds of the damn things. Yeah. So this is the thing. I didn't see Gargoyles until Disney Plus happened. Then I could actually sit down and watch them, because they weren't there. And the same thing with Spider-Man. I didn't have a chance to see all that stuff. I saw fragments and things before, but I never got to see whole episodes. And the first one, the one I did with Shane Easton, the Cuculain one, I was like, this is really good. This is dealing with disaffected youth and the lack of prospects in 1990s Ireland. This is pretty hardcore. And the thing that struck me was the animation is beautiful, the design, the consistency, knowing the voice actors who were there. It's just, one of the reasons that it works so well is everybody is absolutely at the top of their game. These are absolutely world-class voice talents that you got there. You got great writing, and this is the other thing. It's a great tribute to Greg and the team. And I got this when I was doing with John Semple and Spider-Man as well. You got people who are wildly passionate about what they're doing, wildly uncool. And their sincerity, well, that's what it is. They're wildly uncool in their sincerity. Look, everybody who ends up being great or doing great things they're very uncool. Whether you're Mozart or whether you're Stan Lee or whoever the hell you are, that you were committed to something and somebody else looked at you and went, "Are you serious?" And you went, "I'm very serious.
Dead serious. Yeah.
This is going to work. Hold my beer." So I'm very, very, very proud and humbled to play a very, very small part in it, because it's great stuff. I watched it and went, God, I would love this if I'd gotten this about 15 years earlier, I would have been all over this.
It holds up ridiculously well for being 30 years old.
Well, the other thing is it's dealing with profoundly adult themes of loss, of yearning, of longing, of impossible love, of revenge, of obsession.
It's very Shakespearean.
Yeah, but that's all. But the other thing is, and so Greg would agree with me on this, is that there's very much there's a very powerful metaphysical structure that goes on here between day and night, between stone and flesh, between good and bad, the transformation from one to the other, the idea, which is quintessentially American, which is the idea of the old country in the new country, as it were. The sort of the links to Scotland and sort of ancient European mythology and all of those particular things in Ireland. So it's in with the bricks. It's in the cement, and also this wonderful fantasy of those things which tower above us and sit on top of high cathedral walls. This idea that, are they monsters or are they our protectors, which is quite a beautiful concept. Greg, you probably know this. In Paisley Cathedral, one of the gargoyles is an alien. You ever seen that?
I've seen it.
I love it. I love that one.
Bachansky and I are also big Aliens fans. So.
That's their next one.
But it's great, and it's great to see Deirdre here, because the last time I saw him, it was like 35 years ago, or 30 odd years ago. When we were.
I'm so glad you guys were able to both join us.
Me too.
It's an absolute delight. Thank you for inviting me.
Jamie too.
Yeah.
Jamie knows how much I love him.
We all love Jamie. I'm the one here who never actually worked with Jamie, but
Jamie was probably one of the coolest people I'd ever met.
Don't say that. Don't say that. That's
It'll go to his head. It'll all go to his head.
No. I don't mean that in like cool. I mean so completely uncool. Yeah. And there's a point where you break through the membrane of uncool, and then you go into this brand new free space, which is, I do not give a fuck. This is
yes,
right. And a great. The other thing is a wonderful leader, and he created the tone in the room. Whether you were a veteran or it was your first day at work, everybody everybody was happy to be there. And that's a top-down thing. I learned a lot of things about leadership from Jamie and how he would make things work. And he had enormous trust in his taste and enormous trust in the people he had in front of him. And it, you've seen it paid off. Yeah.
Enormous trust in my taste is like the kindest way that's ever been put. Opposed to
I've loved these conversations, and I gotta say, growing up, the dullest people I knew were the cool people.
Yeah. It's very true.
Yeah,
Do not care about anything. Do not actually take anything seriously.
That's why I raised 4 nerds, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jamie, any final thoughts on this episode?
Like Scott said, it's cool to be uncool. And speaking of uncool, people talk about this show as very Shakespearean. I say it's very Weissman.
Oh, nice.
Very Weissman.
And this episode and this whole 3-parter is just a really good example of everything that's great about this show, about this series. It's phenomenal writing that it's working on so many different levels, and amazing cast, fantastic voice acting. This was Diedrich's first animated gig. Are you kidding me? It's the first time he did it.
And he broke my heart.
Yeah, first time I did it. Yep. You started my career
all day long.
Grateful forever for that.
That's on the script. That's Greg. Don't tell Greg I said that, because I can never say that to his face. But yeah, everything he touches gleams gold.
Very cool. Yeah, be included in the show was really cool. It is. It's entertainment with stakes, and that's a rare thing, and it really works.
It's also a degree of audacity that people they're writing, and you may or may not agree with me, Greg, that when you're writing particularly things that are plot driven, it's a little bit like every single scene is a new escape room. And sometimes the only way to get out of the room is to blow it up. And one of the issues is that everybody is a little bit scared to blow things up these days, because they're scared of alienating someone because of some algorithm that nobody understands. And all of the great stuff is based on doing the things that we go, no, don't do that. You go,
totally agree.
That means I've got to do that, So good on you.
Yeah, I could not have said it better. That was fantastic. And Greg, any final thoughts on this episode?
A couple. One is that I think, Scott, it was less about us being audacious on purpose, but we had a sort of mantra when we first started, when Frank and Michael and I first started the show, beginning of season 1, which is 64 episodes ago, is that we weren't going to do status quo television. This was going to be the kind of show that we wanted to see. And so the situation was going to change. And I think it caught people off guard back in season 1 when the Gargoyles left the castle in the first place, because that had been home base and moved to the clock tower. But now we'd spent a good 60 or so episodes in that clock tower. And it's like, nothing is secure. Nothing is guaranteed. I mean, I wasn't going to kill off Angela because I like the character too much, frankly. But I absolutely was going to blow up the clock tower because we didn't want anything to seem too safe. And then the second thing I just wanted to say, and I mentioned him earlier, but you guys are giving me a lot of credit, which I appreciate and arrogantly also kind of think I deserve. But I just want to remind everyone and point out that these 3 episodes, the 3 Hunter's Moon episodes, were all written by Michael Reeves. And I was his boss, and we talked. He and I and Frank and Dennis, we talked about all this stuff. And so it was a team effort for sure. But the guy who sat down and wrote these 3 scripts was Michael Reeves. And So really, I can't say enough good stuff about Michael, because the truth is when we started the series, we went through a whole bunch of writers who just didn't get it. Among other things, they thought, oh, it's a Disney show. I got to put in a lot of silliness to, and we went through so many writers that I was starting to think, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this show isn't workable. And then we found Michael, and Michael got it. He understood what we were trying to do, and he was able, at a time when my bosses wouldn't let me write because I was too green. They didn't really want me to produce either, but I didn't really. But when I agreed to do two jobs for the salary of two full-time jobs for the salary of the lesser one, kind of changed their mind. But the guy who really set the tone from a writing standpoint was Michael, and so I just want to shout out for the late Michael Reeves and give him
absolutely. Reeves really he made such a difference, and stuff that the audience will never get to see is, like, I always knew when I was reading a Reeves script that one of my favorite stage directions that I remember jumping off the page to me at the time was just a simple sentence, but he said, like a hot knife through Janet Leigh.
Whoa.
So,
Love it.
the stage direction.
Michael Reeves was brilliant, and he is deeply missed.
Yeah.
All right. Those are
I think Greg said something very, very astute. He said they were making a show they wanted to see. I think one of the problems with a lot of shows these days is everybody's trying to make a show that they think somebody else wants.
Think someone else is trying to.
Yes, you are right.
Here's the formula that all the calculations say that will work instead of
we literally sat down and said, let's make the show we want to see, and cross our fingers that there are people out there who like it too.
But
we're just gonna go for it and not try and guess, and just do the show we wanted, that we felt was missing from television, and that we wanted to see, and I think that's why 30 plus years later the thing holds up.
There's a reason. Yeah, there's a reason that we talked about
the passion that we had. Frank, Jamie, and Michael, and Dennis, and Bob, and you guys, I think, is in every frame of these episodes, and so that was able to catch the passion of people like Greg and Jennifer, and kind of put them in a position where 30 years later they're like, we should do a podcast.
I mean, we already did the convention thing.
Yeah, we never let it go. And on that note, this is coming out July 17th, and very quickly, does anyone have anything we want to promote around July 17th?
I'll just continue to promote the Gargoyles comic book. Issue 1 comes out in August. August 12th. But it really helps us out if you pre-order, if you put it on your pull lists at your local comic book shop. Pre-orders are the name of the game. So the first issue of the new Gargoyles series comes out August 12th, but pre-order it now, please.
And pre-order the trades. Here in Manhattan, Volume 2 is finally coming out. So is Dark Ages, so is Quest, and eventually Demona as well. So pre-order all of that, everybody. Dietrich, anything you want to promote?
No, I got nothing. I want everybody to buy the comic books, and I want everybody to buy Scott's books that are coming out very soon. That's what I hope. The other stuff that I got coming out, I signed an NDA, so I have to roll that out at their timing and not my own.
Jamie,
I've got several things under NDA, which I would love to talk about, which I can't. When the books come out, I'll come back and bore everybody with you. I can talk about quantum theories of consciousness, You know, it's like I'm going to share one of my theories with Dietrich right now. I'm sure he'll explain. You've heard of Schrodinger's cat. I have this theory of Schrodinger's actor, which is until the actor performs in front of somebody, he is both simultaneously shit and amazing.
Just ask him. Yeah.
Exactly. But, you know, but you need to be observed. And the observing or the listening to it completely changes the thing that you're doing.
Don't you want to put Scott and Crispin Freeman in a room together?
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Who is this Crispin Freeman of whom you speak?
He's
another voice actor.
But he's some of what you're saying really seems to resonate with things that Crispin is saying.
Oh my gosh! Yes.
I'm going to take a note of him. And
it's a compliment. It's a compliment.
Hunt him down.
He's a great guy, and he's a really good voice actor. And I'm really glad that I bullied everybody until he got in.
I remember that.
I found him through anime dubs.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that was his bread and butter. Yeah,
that's where I latched onto him.
Mm-hmm. He is terrific. He's great. And on that note, thank you all. Dietrich, Scott, you were both brilliant. You were brilliant in the episode, on the show, and everything else I've seen you do. And I'm planning a rewatch of Office Space at some point because I love that movie.
And look, they burned down the thing at the end of the movie.
That's right.
Yeah, they did.
Inspired by this episode.
The one thing, Jamie, you spoiled me because I went on and I did Spider-Man and all that kind of thing. And I cannot remember the name of the director, but it was the exact opposite of the experience that I had with you. Because it was after I did the session, I was exhausted. One of the other guys came up to me and said, "Dude, don't try to get it right in the first take. You're always going to do 6 takes. It's just easy."
Yeah.
I know exactly who the director was of your Spider-Man show, but I'm not going to say his name out loud.
Neither am I. I know who it is also. But okay. All right.
No, because this is what I had. You know?
Asner.
That was me.
Asner played J. Jonah Jameson on that show, and I remember because we recorded in the same place.
Yes, we did too. Yeah.
And I remember.
Was that LA Studios?
It was the old Screen Music.
Screen Music.
Oh, yeah,
Screen Music. Yeah.
Right.
And I remember coming in for a Gargoyles recording. Maybe it was Team Atlantis. I can't quite remember the timing of all this, but I was coming in for one of my things just as a Spider-Man session was wrapping up. And Ed comes out and he is so goddamn angry at that voice director. He was so furious. It was kind of hilarious. But
no, Ed was brilliant, and you were all brilliant. And Jamie, we're wrapping up the animated series right now, and I know you've been on several times. You were brilliant on the show. You were always brilliant as a guest. So thank you for all the times you came on, because very soon we're going to be transitioning over to the comic books, and there's no voice acting.
Still have him back.
Well, maybe we will. But,
you'd have to read something.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
I'll have one of my kids read it to me. That'll be.
Maybe we will. But if we don't, I want to say it's been a real pleasure getting to know you these last few years through this podcast. So thank you for all the time you contributed. And I guess until we meet again, which I'm going to say to all of you, until we meet again, and so thank you all for coming on. Jennifer, thank you for everything you do also. Greg, thank you for this wonderful show you created. And to our fans, thank you for listening. And join us next time for Hunter's Moon Part 3, the end of the
concluded.
To be concluded.
Go by those. We watch Dietrich on better things, among other things.
Yes, and go buy those comics.
Yeah.
Pre-order those comics.
Yes, please.
Thank you for listening to Voices from the Eyrie, a Gargoyles podcast, powered by the Spidey Dude Radio Network located at spidey-dude.com. If you like this show, then please listen to Spectacular Radio, based on the Spectacular Spider-Man animated series, which features some familiar voices. You can also find these great podcasts: Clone Saga Chronicles, Make Mine Mayday, Amazing Spider-Man Classics, the Sal Buscema Podcast, and Books of X. All of this and more on the Spidey Dude Radio Network. And please follow us on Twitter at From Eyrie. That's From EYRIE. And join us on Patreon at patreon.com/SpideyDude Network for more exclusive content. Thank you.
Enchanté, my dear. Welcome to my chamber of horrors.